Today's brief video is either going to really motivate you when it comes to quitting smoking weed, quitting drinking alcohol, quitting vaping, or it's going to demotivate you and you're going to leave today's video feeling a bit helpless. It all depends on the mindset of you, the individual who's watching this or listening to this on the other side of that screen. Now, if you wind up enjoying today's content, be sure to check out the pinned comment in the video description to learn more about our free and paid resources when it comes to addiction recovery services. When I look back at my quitting journey from nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content, things that my company now helps people quit. When I was quitting, I wasn't particularly good at many things. I wasn't making a ton of money, but I was making some money. I wasn't exceptionally good at school. I wasn't exceptional in my performance in my career. Physically, I was in decent shape, but not in exceptional shape. And I was a very, very average individual. By society's standards of the word average, I was just very, very average. Maybe slightly above average because I would say I was slightly above average on paper. But to me, I felt very, very average, okay, compared to where I knew I could be in my life. And looking at quitting drugs, I saw an opportunity to be in the top 1% of something, or the top 3%, let's say, of something. As I started to get into the addiction recovery space, and this is while I was in active addiction, so as I started my own recovery process, I quickly had the realization that there were a number of people that were unable to successfully quit smoking weed, quit using nicotine products, quit watching porn. People who were going to endlessly struggle potentially the rest of their lives with addictions that were no longer serving them a purpose, okay? And I saw this time and time again, like being parts of different recovery groups and attending a very low number of meetings, but like, you know, I looked around a little bit for support when it came to addiction help, and I met people in the space, and a lot of the people I met along the way had relapsed or they had gone back to drugs, okay? And you can look at the statistics on things and they're very poor for people who struggle with addiction and eventually obtain complete abstinence. It's a really low number. And that's reality, okay? When I saw that, I saw an opportunity for the first time in my life to be part of the top 1%, part of the top 3% of something. I knew I wasn't going to hit it financially at that point. I knew I wasn't going to hit it physically at that point. I was like, this is it. This is a chance to really perform. And in my mind, I had thought to myself, if I can quit these drugs and I can prosper and I can do better for myself, that has to have some impact on my life. Like that has to have some positive outcomes. Like if I can achieve being in the top 1 to 3% of something that a lot of people who deeply struggle with addiction, and I'm saying smart people, right? There's people that struggle with addiction. You have doctors, you have attorneys, you have high-end business people who just can't figure this out. They just can't seem to get sober. You have chemists, you have physicists, you have, outstanding parents, you have outstanding siblings and husbands and wives and real people who have accomplished real things, raised families, built businesses, and they can't get sober. They can't figure out how to live life without drugs. I said to myself, if I can figure that out, and I do it successfully, what then can't I do? That having had been one of the biggest challenges that I faced in my life, and to date it was one of the most challenging things I faced, okay? If I can pull that off, what can't I pull off? And that's eventually what happened. I quit the substances. I started to get real solid in my recovery, and then I eventually became recovered. Drugs are not a thing for me anymore. They're not on my mind. Outside of this channel, I have zero interest in talking about them. I have zero interest in revisiting my past with them. I have zero interest in this stuff outside of this channel and these videos that I make. No interest. So after quitting, becoming recovered, and then starting to apply the things that I learned that got me into the top 1%, top 3% of something, someone who's able to abstain and be sober, I was like, wait a minute. I can take this into a relationship. A biggest thing for me, I can take this into business. I can take this into my finances. I can take this into my physical health. Because I learned something after trying to quit 1,000 times and failing 1,500 times. I was like, okay, I definitely got grit. I definitely got determination. Getting knocked down, getting rejected, getting disappointed, having to operate from a place of no motivation, from a place of a complete lack of confidence. The fact that I was able to feel that way and pull this off, what can't I pull off? And that's exactly what people have seen who have followed my channel over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, however long ago we started this thing. And that's what I continue to do today. So whether it's trying to get through a difficult situation that I might face in my marriage, or a difficult situation that I might face in business, right? Starting a supplement company and trying to actually turn this into something huge one day, revolutionize the products out there available for people when it comes to quitting substances. It's a big undertaking, right? When you're up against things like Nicorette and, traditional pharmaceuticals, which I'm not saying this would replace, but anyways, I don't want to get on a sidetrack. It's a big thing. I'm trying to revolutionize addiction recovery and what it looks like, okay? On many different platforms, on many different levels. That requires a lot of the traits that I developed while going through the addiction recovery process, right? Because I developed grit, I developed discipline, or I redefined my discipline. I developed an ability to hustle, to grind. And believe me, my early sobriety was a grind. It was literally a grind. And in the development of those traits, I've now been able to transfer them into multiple other aspects of my life. And going back to that thought that I initially had when I saw how many people were going to fail, now in doing what I do, seeing how many people continue to fail, although I do believe this channel and our coaching programs and things are changing that, and you can see that in all the positive comments and all the changes people have made right here on our channel. But knowing that a large part of society, a large population of people aren't going to be able to pull it off, but I did. I pulled it off. I figured it out. That to me, that's the most motivating thing in the world. I didn't have to go run a marathon. I didn't have to go out on some crazy adventure. Heck, it didn't even start with having to build, or I already had my own business at that point, but it didn't even have to do with me making it in my own business. It had to do with here's my challenge. It's like a marathon, something that a lot of people who are addicted, they're not even going to even attempt to get sober. And then there's going to be a lot of people that do attempt it and they don't succeed. But what if I can? What if I can succeed at this? How is that going to change me? And how is that going to change my life? And it's changed my life financially. It's changed my life physically. It's changed my life psychologically. It's changed my relationships. It has completely changed almost everything. Almost everything that I touch has changed because I decided that I wanted to be in the top 1% to 3% of something. Because again, a majority of people will fail, especially when you look at the long-term outlooks on sobriety and addiction recovery and stuff like that. But what if I don't? What if I succeed at that? What if I continue to succeed at that? And what if that success starts to become second nature, just like continually failing was second nature for me. That's the motivation in quitting a substance to me. And it's kind of a dark motivation because it is comparing yourselves to others, particularly other people who are struggling. But this is reality. If you're thinking of going into business for yourself, if you're thinking of really doing well for yourself in today's society, and avoiding all the pitfalls and all the negatives and all the traps and all the things that keep people tied down, that keep people from prospering. It's hard, but so was quitting drugs. And if I could pull that off, what can't I pull off? I'm about to cough. Listen, if you guys enjoyed today's content, check out that pinned comment in the video description to learn more about our paid and free Addiction Mindset Recovery Coaching Program resources. I'll see you guys below. Excuse me.